Alrighty, welcome to our next skills video with Sydney and Sam. Today we're going to be talking through the first of the TIPP skills, and the first one here is temperature. So this is handout 6A in distress tolerance. And so what TIPP is, I'm going to share my screen with you briefly, is a kind of set of skills. So we've got temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and paired muscle relaxation. We are going to start with just temperature because this is, we say this a lot, but one of Sam and I's absolute favorite skills, and I think is really important to dive into. So we are using TIPP skills when we are really distressed, right? I like to say 70 to 100 on our emotion thermometer. And when we have really strong urges to do things, act in ways that might make the situation worse. So this is a really good one to bring down emotions so that they are just a little bit more tolerable so you can be a little bit more effective. So with temperature, essentially what we're trying to do is exactly what it sounds like. We are changing our temperature. We can think about emotions as physiological processes. And so one of the signatures of a lot of our emotions, like think anger, you might experience this with anxiety, fear, those things. We notice heat. And so if you notice heat rising, maybe a little cheek flush, one thing we can do is bring our temperature down to bring the emotion down, okay? And we're gonna walk through a specific example of this in a minute, but just some ideas for you to practice this might be running cold water over your wrist. It's a really sensitive spot, really good place to do it. Putting a cold pack on your neck or on your forehead, and we'll talk about the cheeks in a minute here as well. So anything you can do to bring temperature down is going to be really helpful for those kind of emotions that bring heat. And in the same kind of lens, if we have emotions, for example, sadness, that might bring us down a little bit, we can use things that make us warmer, right? To help bring sadness, for example, down. Okay, so this might be eating hot sauce. I'm someone that does not tolerate spicy. And so if you give me hot sauce, there's no way I can keep being sad because that is going to shock my system and the burn is all I'm going to be able to think about. Same thing, you can hop into a nice toasty shower, right? And that can help kind of shock our systems out of really strong emotions. I also like to encourage people to get really sour candy. Can be a good one, kind of a way to sour or spicy candy to shock our systems in this way, change our temperature. Any other tips or tricks or fun ideas that you have, Sam?
My favorite one in the vein of the candy is, I think they're called fireballs. It's like these cinnamon candies that have so much cinnamon.
Just to clarify, not the whiskey.
No, it's a candy. So it's very cinnamony and it feels spicy. And that's a great one for tipping in the heat direction.
I love it. I love it. And you can keep those like on your desk with you, right? Like you can use these at any time, which can be super helpful. Same thing with cold water. Run to the bathroom if you're feeling really angry at work, right? Do it. That's a way better option than blowing up at your boss or a coworker or whatever, right? Good. Okay. So we're now going to activate something that's called the dive reflex. This is something I'll refer to as the cold water trick or the ice pack trick or whatever you want to call it. Sam, do you have a name for it?
I usually just say the dive reflex. I'm nerdy.
I just love it. So let's talk about what the dive reflex is, and then we'll talk about how to deliberately activate it. So the dive reflex, I know about this. So I'm from Minnesota. And what you'll see happening is sometimes, kids will go out on the ice and maybe the ice isn't quite frozen enough and they'll fall through. And kids can be under the ice for a very long time and still live because when we get really cold, we have this thing called the dive reflex, which shuts our nervous system down. Okay, so we have our nervous system is broken down into two parts. We have the parasympathetic nervous system. I think paramedic, they help you, they calm you. And then we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is more of our arousal. We're thinking about this in car terms. The sympathetic nervous system is the gas, and the parasympathetic nervous system is the brakes. We have that right, Sam?
Yes.
Okay. And so the dive reflex puts our brakes on like 100%, right? Our parasympathetic nervous system activates and totally shuts us down. So if we have really, really strong emotions, if we activate our dive reflex, and I'm doing this because this is the place you can go to do this, then our emotions will come down. That is biological. Okay, so in order to do this, we're going to practice right here, right now. So Sam and I both have our handy dandy ice packs. If you have an ice pack at home, please go grab it. A cold washcloth will work the same, or if you have a sink, you can fill up with water. You're welcome to dunk your head in the sink as well. It's a really fun way to do it. So I will ring the bell to start our practice, but first I'm going to describe it. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab our ice packs and you are going to place it over your nose and cheeks. Okay. You know, you are welcome to stay seated in this way. You can also lay down, or I like to lean forward a little bit as I'm doing this. So you'll put your ice pack on your face. Sam's removed her glasses, so she's ready. And you are going to hold your breath for the 30 seconds that we do this practice. I say hold your breath, and I'll hold up the fact that I have asthma and don't usually make it for 30 seconds. So if you need to take a quick breath, that's okay too. Please don't pass out on us. Okay, but we have a timer set here where all of us are going to grab our ice packs. And when I ring the bell, you're going to put your ice pack on your face and hold your breath for the 30 seconds. Any questions, Sam, before we dive in?
I'm ready to dive in.
Let's go for it. All right. So sometimes that's enough to bring people's emotions down significantly, and they only have to do it once. Others need to repeat this a couple times. If that's you, feel free to pause the video and go back and do that practice again. I'm noticing, I don't know if you can tell I'm talking slower, but I just feel so much more calm. Like I was probably at maybe like a 4 of anxiety, 4 or 5, why I was talking pretty fast, and I'm now at like a 1. Sam, what did you notice?
I noticed I kind of have this interesting sensation of feeling a bit more awake, but also feeling a bit more calm at the same time.
That's a really interesting dialectic. It's like your body is both like ready to take on what's going to come, and you're more calm and centered to be able to do so. Beautiful. I love it. So that is the dive reflex, and that's how you intentionally activate it, right? And I want you to know that this skill gives you power back over your really, really intense emotions. This one is also really, really helpful for panic. If you're someone that has panic attacks, get your ice pack ready, okay? Have it handy. And we want you to be practicing this skill whether or not the stress is high at first, right? Because you're not going to use this skill if your anger is at a 100 out of 100, if you haven't practiced it first. Think about it like you're playing a game, right? I played soccer in college, and we practiced every single day before we went into games. We did not just show up for games and hope hope it went okay. So same thing with these skills. So my goal for you for homework over this next week is to set a timer in your phone for one time a day. Make it a time a day where you have the time and space to practice this, but also maybe you're a little busy, so maybe stresses up a little bit. And take 30 seconds, grab your ice pack, and practice the skill. Okay. Afterwards, just be mindful of how it worked for you. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today. We will see you next time.